What's the scariest thing you've seen with your own eyes? I was 18 years old and following a friend home from a party. We all had been drinking, but he definitely shouldn't have been anywhere near a vehicle with how much he had. He got violent when we tried to take his keys, so at the behest of my girlfriend, we left the party early to follow him home. About 1.5 miles from his house, he sped up and drove right into a cliff face when he failed to hold a turn. We stopped, I got out, and I told my GF to drive my car to the nearest gas station and call for help. This was pre-cell phone. I walked up to the car, and he was basically cut in half inside the vehicle and pinned by the steering column. The entire interior looked like a blood bomb exploded inside it. He was still alive. I held his hand and told him his mom was on her way. I just kept telling him he'd be okay until he passed out. It was only a couple of minutes, but it felt like an hour. I went fetal as soon as he closed his eyes. First of 2 death rattles I've heard. I didn't stop crying for almost a week. I was a mess. So, if you know someone who insists on driving drunk and wants to fight over it, fight over it. It's better to have a pissed-off friend who never talks to you again than a dead one. Pin them down if you can. Almost 25 years later, and I'm still fucked up over it. My sister coming home after being kidnapped and sex trafficked. She was 17. She was kidnapped in Memphis, Tennessee, where my family lived, and taken to Houston, Texas, kept in a hotel room closet. She was beaten and raped more times than toes and fingers I have. They were feeding her a concoction of drugs to make her pass out, including Xanax and OxyContin. She eventually started hiding the pills and pretending she was asleep. The people that were holding her against her will, the kidnappers, left the hotel room as she pretended to be asleep next to another girl that they had also taken off of the street in Memphis. Once they left the hotel room, my sister got up and booked it all the way out of the hotel to a spaghetti place across the street from the hotel and called the police and FBI. She passed away in a car accident 6 months later. She was one of the bravest people I've ever met in my life. I'm so glad she is my sister. When I was younger, we had a lot of trauma going on in our home. My mom left due to drug abuse, my dad was pretty abusive, and immediately moved in this abusive lady and her daughter. The daughter gave me born-chilling creeps. Anyways, lady hated me so much she moved me out of my bedroom so her daughter could have a room, and put me in our dark, damp, and unfinished basement. Some nights, I'd wake up to what looked like a demon staring at me from the stairs. Other nights, it would be in the corner of the basement. I didn't have a bedside light to quickly turn on. Rather, I'd have to get up and turn on the basement light from the top of the stairs. One night, I heard a cat meowing, rolled over to see whatever it was in the corner, and then heard the cat's neck basically break as it screamed in pain. I was so scared, I pissed my bed and hid under the covers until morning. I had refused to sleep in my basement for many weeks with a puppy I had just got myself for my birthday, until my dad's girlfriend was so upset that I had basically moved into the living room. Being forced to sleep in the basement was scary enough for me that I would then sleep in my car or on our trampoline outside with my dog. I was 16. After work one day, I decided I was going to get a kennel to put my puppy in that I could turn the wrong way to have the gate face the wall so it wouldn't be harmed by whatever the entity was, and I bought a big-ass flashlight from a supply store next to the Golden Corral I worked at. Sure enough, second night into me sleeping, the thing returned and was trying to get into the kennel. I immediately turned on the flashlight to find my dad's girlfriend's daughter trying to break into the cage. Her excuse was she wanted to let the puppy out so it wouldn't suffer in the cage. Nobody knew I had bought the cage for the dog. Which was strange. Few weeks go by, and nothing in my basement since. Until one night in the basement window, I hear another cat being tortured. I turn on the flashlight and shine right into the window to find the girlfriend's daughter snapping a cat's neck. When I told my dad and his GF what I had seen and been seeing, they basically said I was a bitch for accusing her of something so evil. I was so upset I moved into my boyfriend at the time's parents' house. Turns out she had been coming into the basement at night after catching neighborhood cats, killing them, and hiding them under her bed. It took a few months for the rotting cat smell to really piss my dad off enough to go into a room and find most of the missing neighborhood animals. I've since gone no contact, so I really don't know what happened after that. My family and I, including 2 younger siblings, went to my uncle's house to cook out and have a small party. His girlfriend was there, and things were great until we decided it was time to go. Girlfriend was nervous and asked for a ride home. Uncle heard that and got mad, grabbing her purse and shoes and saying she could leave without them. The whole thing was strange to me, as I was around 12 or 14 and had a delayed understanding of what was going on. Next thing I know, I walk into the kitchen to see my uncle twisting his girlfriend's purse strap around her neck, trying to strangle her. My mom and his son get him off of her. His mom comes over to calm him down. We and the girlfriend make our escape while he's kneeing his own mom in the face with his son, literally on his back, choking him. Haven't seen or talked to him since. Never knew he was like that when drunk. It was a total shock. He was always fun to hang out with before that. I'm a public school teacher. We had an active shooter in my school almost 10 years ago. Luckily, he only brought a pistol and only had a few students he wanted to go after instead of a mass shooting incident. The police were on the scene and in the school in a matter of minutes, and really did stop the scenario from being worse than it was. I had my students locked in my room, door locked, with them on the wall next to the door, so if you looked in, you wouldn't see anyone. I am a yearbook teacher, so I inexplicably still had X-Acto knives in my room. I stood next to the door with one in my hand while blocking the view from the door to the students. I saw the shooter walk by, but he never looked in my door. He killed himself when the cops confronted him. His sister was in my classroom when it happened.